able to break it. And I think it's because our holder was holding it a little wrong. Like he held it in the middle of the board instead of the top of the board. I think that mattered.
I think absolutely.
So I broke.
Oh my gosh.
I was swinging for the fences. I was going for it, but it's
That
okay.
had to be how they were holding it because the
I
first time
know.
I hit it, it didn't. It just pushed her back, but I didn't. But then Chandler said, no, she said, step with this foot when you do it. And then it was nothing, didn't even hurt. But not everybody was able to do it. Two of the other gals couldn't do it either, but they weren't doing what she told them. If they'd have stepped like she told them, then then it broke like butter. But
Yeah.
I did not think I would be able to break it. I was the oldest person at our table, but
I'm not going to your house later to move that table. You can do it.
no, Mama can't pick things up. I have a bad back. Apparently, I
Who's
can break
that?
boards though. I kind of want to get another one. Well, and here's the thing. Sweet girl at my table that was video. She's like, I'll video for you. I'm like, oh, okay. And so, there was some setup and Chandler's talking to me. So she missed me breaking it.
Oh,
She has a
shoot.
video of me afterwards, but she missed the whole shot. I was like, thank you, but okay. So
Oh, shoot.
I
You're at
know.
the setup.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but that was okay. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. Did
Who
you
has
break yours, Sandy?
You're muted, Sandy.
Yes, I did. I did.
Good for you.
She has like milk.
Yeah, it was rough though. It took me like 5 times.
Oh, that
Well,
is
you did
rough.
it. That's all that matters.
Yes, I was like the oldest one.
Me too. I think us old gals got it figured out because yeah.
Oh yeah, we got it all figured out. Hmm.
So who knew we have jujitsu, taekwondo masters here? We got this.
I think Sandy and I should take up karate or something. I don't know.
I know.
So Brandy, did you break your hand?
I didn't break my hand, but I did get a good, I gave it my all, girl. I think the way our guy was holding the board was the thing. He didn't hold it at the top, he held it in the middle, and there was no leverage to it. It was like as solid as could be. So nobody in our line was able to break it. So what we did was, if you couldn't break it, you went over to another part where you could stomp through it. Like you could put your board on a thing and stomp through it, and it broke so easy. So, but I was funny when we picked up the board that so by the way, sorry, Jake, I was just talking to your mom about bold and see how she handled it. But on the board, we wrote our limiting beliefs and things that we wanted to break through. And so we wrote that all over the board. It was really actually a powerful exercise. And so that's what, when I picked up the board, I was like, I smelled it and I was like, this is real wood. Like this is like the good stuff from Home Depot. This isn't even the cheap stuff from like Harbor Freight or whatever. I'm like, is this perforated? Is this magic wood? How are we gonna break this? This is like legit. And it was good.
Yeah, we were all looking for fillers in it, and there was no fillers.
Yep. And what's funny is when I got home, I did not expect this at all. I was telling Caesar about it, and he was on here. He probably can hear me through the wall. I was telling him about it, and he got so protective of me. He's like, they ask you to break the board yourself? I'm like, well, yeah. He goes, I would have broke it for you. Like I would have plowed right through that. It wouldn't have hurt your hand. Like he was so protective. He's like, I'm mad at that wood. Anyway, it was so funny.
My
That was funny.
husband said the same thing. He's like, why did they make you break a board? I'm like, oh, it's good. They didn't make me do it. I did it on my own.
Yeah, I signed a waiver.
Yeah, I signed a waiver and everything. I knew exactly what I was doing.
Yeah.
Crazy.
All right, sorry, Jake. I know this is your call today.
No,
sorry about that.
Good. You're good. It's always nice when people are actually talking on these versus just standing around and listening to me talk. Cool. All right, I got a couple things here. First, I was going to shout out the finance committee. I'm a nerd, but I had sent out a survey to some people that were part of the finance committee last year, and we had 4 people in the last year that increased their net worth over the year. We had 5 people contribute to an investment account. We had, what was it? 5 people create a budget. 3 of them actually used it. And then 6 people achieved at least one of their financial goals for the year.
That's
So
great.
it was a good, everybody come to the finance committee next year if you want to build your wealth, and we'll all do it
Yeah.
together. So it was, I was surprised. And if you guys have anything that you want to do for next year's finance committee, anything you guys want to learn or do, or something that we need to do different, I'm open ears. So let me know, like, you can say it now or you can send it to me later, whatever you guys want to know on any of that stuff. But I thought it was very successful this year. So the goal was to have like, I think 3 people increase their net worth, and we had what, 4?
Awesome.
What is
There's
that?
probably more, Jake. That's just who responded to your text or to your survey. I bet you there's
Yeah, well, I had 4 that said yes, and then 2 that said not sure. I have not calculated it. So I didn't have anybody that went down.
That's great.
So
great.
that was good. And then also,
Really?
I pulled some data here that I thought I'd share with you guys, and we could go over it. So last October, interest rates average 7.08. This year, it is 6.19. So about a full percentage point drop from last year. And then also, average buying age right now is 56 years old. I thought we could use that to kind of
Huh.
target our marketing. Instead of marketing towards 20-year-olds, it looks like the average buyer right now is 56. So those marketing approaches might be a little bit different. And the interest rates have come down 1%. I saw something on Facebook last night. Somebody said that the rates might have risen. Did anybody hear anything on that?
Yeah, when the Fed dropped the quarter, because their
Mhm.
verbiage wasn't super supportive for any further ones, it's 50-50, that
Mhm.
actually bonds went up about 10 basis points.
Oh boy.
But that's not uncommon actually, because they already had the quarter point move baked in. And so it was more, what's the forecast? And basically the forecast was really non-committal.
So you think it's just a jump and it'll go back down a little bit?
Hard to say. Hard to say. It's just now it's all going to be what's going to happen in the December meeting.
Right. I was going to talk, that was on the list too, the furlough and things like that. Has anybody been affected by that? I know I was talking to somebody the other day that had a closing and they were wanting to delay the closing because they were going to get furloughed like 5 days later. I said, if on the sales side, absolutely, I would not. They're clear to close October 29th, and then November 1st, they're not. I'm sorry, but I mean,
Yes, that was me. You gave me excellent advice, and they
I
closed
wasn't going to say it with you,
yesterday.
but
The people that were going to be furloughed, but Lisa told me in title, she said that another person closing that also worked at Honeywell, which is where my client was, they were supposed to get furloughed on the 31st, but Honeywell said they found more money, and so they delayed it till the end of November. So that took some of the stress off of my particular client. There's a
you were representing the seller. The buyers were unrepresented, and so the
right.
buyers were asking for that extension. And that
Yes,
was where we talked about you had the obligation to the seller. That doesn't
right.
benefit the seller at all to extend to November when they get furloughed and now potentially cannot close.
Yeah. And I used Lonnie's language with the buyer. I said, because I wasn't representing them, but I was doing the transaction. I said, you're in danger of legal liability if you just don't show up to close. Like you can't just not show up without any reason. If everything's clear to close, which it was, the funding, everything was there, you can't just say you're not going to do that. The seller could, sue you for not closing, not honoring your side of the contract. And so that I think helped them remember, like, yeah, we did actually sign a legal contract. You can't just change your mind, 5 days before you close just because you're nervous. Again, I had sympathy for their stress. But they financially, it wasn't even a hardship for them. They're very blessed. It wasn't really that they were going to be in a bind particularly. It just sort of spooked them. Because they sold their $700,000 house that they didn't owe anything on, and they were getting a $600,000 mortgage. So they were going to be fine, but it was very interesting. I've never, obviously, in my short time, had anything like that. But I was so glad Jake told me because I was like, "Oh, should we extend it then?" Jake's like, "No, don't do that because then they won't be able to close. Force the close." So, and they were very happy. They came in yesterday and they were totally fine with it. Happy with me. Will use me again because Jake really helped me approach it like not a threat, but as I need to inform you, you could be at risk. So I was still helping them while at the same time representing my seller appropriately. But I didn't, it wasn't a threat to like, you have to be there. It was, I want to protect you from putting yourself in legal jeopardy by giving you this information. So I very much appreciated his guidance on that, and it worked out. Praise the Lord, worked out great. So.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if anybody else had any furlough troubles on anything going
I
on
don't
right now.
have furlough troubles, but I did do something silly on my investment property. I took a USDA contract
Mm-hmm.
and we've been sitting there for 20 days already, and she just sent an amendment for another 31 days. I'm like, what? I don't want to sit around here for only if they pay all the bills to it.
So we have a
Yeah.
USDA deal that has been delayed. So they have a little ticker on the USDA website, and they haven't looked at any loans that were submitted after 9/25 of 25.
Yeah.
So
I don't know when ours was submitted, but that might behoove me to figure that out. But they were FHA, by the way, and I was in bold, scurrying through everything. Okay, yeah. I got an amendment that said switching from FHA to USDA, and I just like, yeah, next. I didn't think about it, so don't do that. Think about it.
So
And
what's all being
so here
affected?
we are.
The USDA, are the FHAs getting affected, or is it just USDA and VA?
Just USDA is all I know about. VA is not if everything is automated, but if they need any manual work done, yes, they will be affected too.
and that's the same scenario for FHA as well.
Yeah,
The
I would
automated
think.
systems are still operating, but any manual underwrites are in holding patterns.
Okay.
So how would we know if an offer is gonna be a manual underwrite?
Contact the lender on the pre-approval letter before you accept the offer,
Okay,
Mhm.
which should be a good policy anyway, which we do it on every deal. We have to have a conversation. I have to have a conversation with the loan officer on the pre-approval letter. And just given the uniqueness of what's going on right now, that's a really good question to ask if it's FHA or VA.
A lot of mortgage lenders are not taught. Have you guys said, hey, I don't know your mortgage, like, or if it's an online, I know like with Rocket Mortgage and some of the online ones, I said my sellers were hesitant on the online lender. Could you get a local lender to give us an approval? Do you guys do that at all? Or how do you know the good lenders from the bad? I've talked to some lenders, they're like, oh, we promise it'll close. 2 weeks later, they're like, yeah, well, you can't figure it out.
I used to not like Rocket Mortgage, but now that they have the new commitment part where they have already been through, I forget what they call it, but it's like stamped with, they've already been through underwriting, so it's not a stated income, stated assets type online thing. Approval.
Versus pre-approval or whatever.
Oh, it's more of a commitment type. So they've already been through everything. And there's nothing that can really fall apart unless they change something, change their debt to income or something like that. With those, I did quite a few of those and I don't have any problems.
That's good. I was like 0 for
Yeah.
4 on my first Rocket Mortgage on the sales side, or 0 for 3. And that was several years ago. So then since then, I'm just like, yeah, I don't know. Well,
Yeah. So check it out because they were horrible because it was all stated income, stated assets. And then when they went in to look at things, they were like, oh man, that's not going to work. Sorry, your people aren't pre-approved. What? Yeah. So
What about when we're working with our buyers? What, I know the USDA is tricky right now. Are there any issues on our side as the buyer's agent that we need to address working with FHA or anything like that? Or just talk to their lenders? Just make sure it's all approved automatically.
Yeah, I think the
stay in
conversation
touch
with the
with the
lender.
lenders. Yeah.
Okay. Deal.
Although I did just recently have an agent who got upset because I do call the lenders. And
mhm.
she said, "You're being very unethical by calling the lender." And I said, "Well, I do that on all my clients and all the ones that are affiliated with my transaction. I'm going to call them and make sure I don't ask anything personal about them, except for, is there anything I need to know, that might hinder us closing?" And they will tell you, like they're close on debt to income or things like that. But it was happened to be the agent's mother, so she was more emotional, I think. But she was screaming at me. Of course, I lost service during it. That's what I do. So,
That's hysterical, Sandy.
yeah,
That's,
you
does
have
anybody
to
else
because
ask any,
you're not going to win.
right? Does anybody else
So,
ask any unique questions to the mortgage lender whenever they're
I have,
calling?
I have a question for Sandy. Sandy, I had a Rocket Mortgage situation go south, so I've never done them since. But I found that even when I tried to call a particular lender there, you just get somebody different every time. And that was part of my reasoning for not, I couldn't vet the situation very well. I didn't have a cell phone number if I had a question on a weekend. So what have you found with that experience being able to connect with a individual?
well, I kind of put the two together, the agent and the uh, pre-approval. So with two good things right there. So this gal that I did my last one with, she is one of their preferred realtors, I guess. So she's in touch with a person. So, and I know she's closed a lot of deals. So I just kind of, it's a case by case, I think. But I do believe that once they're assigned a loan officer on that pre-approval type stamped commitment, I think that they stick with it because that is the case on that one.
I just found the struggle of them not being in my state and maybe being able, like, I felt like I kept going, but we have deadlines and they saw things as gray and I saw them as black
Yeah.
and white. And I think that was my struggle. And
That was
not
the
having
case.
them, yeah. And I didn't have them on after hours. They worked hours, which my clients don't always do that. So
That
that was my
was the
struggle. I was just curious. Thank you.
that was a previous struggle with them, but I have heard that that's all changed. So you might try it again, like call them and find out their process again and see if it indeed has changed. But I haven't had any problems with them. I haven't done a ton, but the ones I have done have been smooth sailing.
Yeah, no, I had the same experience as you, Tricia. I'd call and they'd give me one answer and then I'd call again an hour later and then I'd have to rerun them through the whole scenario again with another person. And then I call them the next day and do the whole thing over again. And yeah, it seems like they could do the very easy ones that anybody could do that could run through automatically. But if there's any issue, they couldn't work through it like Todd can or some of the
Oh,
good.
yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Todd's really good at what he does.
Yeah. And then let's see here. Anybody else have anything on that? Or what are you guys' conversation with the mortgage lender outside of, hey, is your pre-approval you wrote good? Sometimes I feel like that's a funny question to ask a lender. How do you guys talk to the mortgage lenders when you call them on the sales side?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair conversation. First of all, half the pre-approval letters, if you really look at them, are going to be subject to 15 different things. So, that instigates a call no matter what. And then what you'll usually find is, oh yeah, we verified all that now. Okay, it'd be good to have a letter that wasn't subject to verifying income, credit, and assets, right? So having that conversation, I just make notes right on the pre-approval letter of who I'm talking to, what they're telling me. And they'll even go as far as saying, hey, I know it doesn't say it there, but we've actually run this guy through the automated underwriting and everything. So I'm making notes of all those things in my conversation. And then you also get to know the loan officer a little bit more. You'll run across them again, most likely. And the bulk of them, especially the ones that have been around a while, I actually kind of look forward to catching up with them. If I see it's a gal at a Lee Summit that's been in the mortgage business for a long time, gives me a chance to check on this buyer, but also, just check and see how they're doing. So building rapport with loan officers, especially the successful ones that have been around a while, is in our best interest for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see here. All right, on some of the data I pulled, I thought it was interesting. I would not have, I think you guys have told me, but if I was just gonna guess without having any data, the average buyer right now at 56 seems a little higher than normal. Is that, Lonnie, you've been in real estate for 100 years. What's the normal average?
I don't know. Anytime anybody throws any statistics out, I always say, well, what has it been historically? Because I really don't have anything to compare it to. I don't know that I've heard a number in many years. What is happening? Our population's aging. We all know that. People are living longer. They're taking better care of themselves. So, that keeps them in the game much longer. And we are seeing first-time home buyers, the younger crowd, have deferred their purchases due to, the move-in rates in the last couple of years. So my guess is the combination of those two has probably taken whatever it's been historically and moved it up a little, but I doubt if it's moved it up dramatically. So if it's 56 now, I would guess in the last 3 or 4 years, it's been in the low to mid 50s. You might chat GPT that. I bet there's some data out there on it.
Yeah, right now, first time home buyer age is 38.
Okay.
Which is nuts.
Yeah.
That just seems very high.
For one thing, if you do chat GPT that, make sure that you tell it if they don't know the answer, don't give one. Because it will. We just learned that at our class we went to the other day.
Home buyers over the last, let's check it out, at last 30 years. Average home
So
buyer.
you're saying it's going to give you an answer regardless if it's right or wrong?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
what they said was ChatGPT goes out and tries to find, because it wants to be helpful. And so sometimes it will go grab anything. That's why you can't believe that everything it says is, you just got to double check everything, or at least use caution, because it's trying to be helpful, and it will just go grab any information it finds. It doesn't fact check. And so, you just got to be careful. That's all. But yeah, if it's sometimes, even if it doesn't have an answer, it will make an answer because it wants to be helpful. It'll like, here, how about this?
Well, that's not helpful.
I know.
I know.
That's terrible,
what I thought.
actually.
But you can't tell it. If you don't find a for sure answer, then just say you don't know. You can tell it that, because it won't do that on its own.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like in 1990, it was about 37 was the average age of a home buyer. And first time
Oh, wow.
home buyers were 28, I think. Hold on, where's that? Yeah, 28 in 1990. And then 2005 is about 35, 36 for average home buyers, about 30 for first time buyers. And then, well, here's the picture of the graph. You guys can see it. Really went up in the last couple of years. So average age of a buyer in 2015 was 41. In 2025, it's 56. So that's pretty significant in 10 years. In 2020, it was 48.
I think.
Hey, Jake.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Jake, I'd put student loan debt on a overlay on that. I
Yeah.
bet it's real similar.
Yeah, I bet you're right.
I think anecdotally too, I'm not quite as old as Lonnie, but I'm getting up there.
He
And
loves that.
I have, I'm close.
She's
I'm
gonna
nipping at your
disconnect like
heels.
Candy did.
Nipping at your heels. But I just know experientially, friends of mine, and just sort of 56 or 65 or whatever, people are still thinking, because we have a lot of runway left. So I see people my age and even a little older buying expensive new homes, new to them, sometimes brand new. Whereas I think in generations past, you kind of were like at the end of the real estate game in your mind. You were going to finish out till you had to, till your health required you to live somewhere else. And now I think people are saying, hey, at 60, I can get my dream home, and I
Yeah.
think I just, again, anecdotally, people around me
I know. Can you shut up?
have a different mindset about things now, I feel like, than they did in the past, which might be part of that.
Hold on.
They
I
just
think
need to
also
probably-
we aren't as scared. Sorry. I think also, because I hit that age group pretty on target, that we've seen interest rates a lot higher. I don't think that we look at 6 and 7s as a threat. I think we're like, whoo, I was at 13 when I got married. So maybe they don't see the interest rates as so frightening. They might see it more as a stable situation.
And they're the ones with more money. People in their 20s can't afford a 6 or 7, whereas the 50s can because they have so much equity. And the house price, they're probably instead of buying their first house, they're buying their 5th house. So all the equity built up and the housing prices going up. They may be the only ones that can afford it if they can. What did they say a couple of years ago? The only way to afford a house is to buy a house, or afford a house in the future is to buy a house today. That's the only way you'll keep up with it.
The first one is the hardest.
Yeah. No, I just thought that was interesting. I wouldn't have guessed it was 56. But I was trying to figure out, I'm like, okay, how do I need to fix my marketing and what neighborhood should I be targeting now that have 56-year-olds versus maybe 30-year-olds, which is kind of where I was wanting to target, was like 35-year-olds. That's still kind of old, but
Just look in the basements, Jake. You'll find the 35-year-olds.
I mean, that's an option. That saved me so much money.
No, no, not an option.
You're in my office all the time.
It's true. I'm in the nets now. I did actually, Jake, interestingly, I asked Chat a question yesterday in bold when I don't know what spurred it, but about in Lee Summit, where's the biggest group to sort of market? Is it first time home buyers or is it people downsizing? And it said, it gave some data about average height, blah, 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 and came to the conclusion that there's more opportunity for first time home buyers as an agent, more in that group in Lee Summit versus there wasn't, downsizing was still a decent market, but it tipped a little bit towards first time buyer, which I had no idea which way it would go. So that was assuming the data was correct.
I think
Yeah.
a lot of first time home buyers have been a lot of these like that's where my kids are falling, and they graduated college in this 2019 2023 kind of market, and they went to rent. They got jobs in the city, and now they're like, "Ooh, we're married, we want to have kids. We can't afford to live in Jackson County downtown city Prairie Village area that we thought was so cute, Waldo. So where do we want to put our kids in school?" And they're looking at Lee Summit. I have a lot of first-time home buyers who are like, we're considering Lee Summit, even though we've lived in Johnson County, because the taxes and we can afford something over there. So I have a lot of first-time home buyers looking in Lee Summit. So that might be why.
I already picked your vegetables.
I had, Chris Bradley had something. Is anybody having trouble with Social Security and getting confirmations on upcoming new benefits? Have a new bill supposed to close on December 1st.
Yep, that's me, Jake. I was thinking about when you guys were talking about lenders. I've been staying in touch with this lender. He's super nice guy. Not a lender I would have referred them to, but I've worked with him before. And I called him yesterday. I said, "Hey, I'm just, touching base, following up." And again, we've got some time, but he's like, "Well, with this government shutdown, you're gonna have an issue, I think." And I'm like, "Well, you better start figuring it out now." because they have preliminary, what their estimates were gonna be, but they're preliminary, and he thinks he's gonna have to fight with his underwriters about that. And I'm like, well, just timing of when we're gonna close, it might be an issue, so. I know you guys were talking about that when you first got on here, so. Does anybody else have that issue?
Is it because the benefits may go down?
No, it's because they haven't started taking their benefits yet.
Oh, I see.
So they've got new pending benefits coming that they were going to start taking. I think they were going to start taking them January 1st, but then they decided, the lender said, "Oh, you probably ought to start taking them December 1st." And then they went ahead and went online and signed up, and they have all that documentation that they're signed up for it, but they haven't got the confirmation. When they signed up, they said that Social Security would be reaching out within the next 30 days. Well, obviously that didn't happen, so.
Yeah, if they need those, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
You're probably in the same boat I am with USDA.
Mm-hmm. Well, and this is just a conventional loan. So at first, when all this was happening, I was like, oh, we're fine. All my deals are fine. And then I'm like, he called and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know where they were at on their Social Security benefits. They had just retired a few months ago, but they weren't going to take them till January 1st. I'm like, you better start, it's a brand new build. I'm like, yeah, with $150 a day penalty. Well, they don't call it a penalty, but it is a penalty if you don't close on time. I'm like, well, guess you better figure that out. So,
Might have a heart like I did. It's not cheap to keep this house for another 30 days either, but
mm-hmm.
I do know it's not the buyer's fault. It's
Yeah.
just one of those things.
Yeah. And that's, I'm like, that we can't be the only people in this situation with Summit Custom Homes. You know what I mean? So, but we'll see. I told him, I'm like, well, let me know if there's anything I can do. But I know there's not, but
Well, it's not just them, Chris.
yeah.
I've got a friend that he just turned 62 about 3 weeks ago, and his benefits are delayed because of all of this as well. So it's not just your buyer, it's basically everybody in that whole scenario because of the delay and all of that.
Yep.
Yes.
I just didn't know if anybody had any little words of wisdom for that situation or not. Because I certainly don't, but and he's a super lender, so he does a great job and he's very well versed, been doing this for probably 35 years, but still I'm like, he's like, well, I'm just calling you in case you know of anything. I'm like, no, I don't.
There's so many things that this affects
Yeah.
that we don't even realize, such as my husband is turning 65 in November. And his ID card for the Marine Corps that he retired with was always indefinite till the last one. And the last one expires when he turns 65. So it has an expiration of the end of the month.
Yeah.
And so you don't have medical benefits, you can't get on and off base, you can't do, I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't guess you can do much of anything,
Yeah.
military wise. And so, but anyway, there are people who are like they're active duty military who are running some of the pass and IDs too. So we were able to find one, but it affects a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, and the lender on this one he's pretty confident that once November 1st hits and like the SNAP benefits and all these things that are impacted, he thinks that we're going to see this standoff come to a screeching end. And I'm like, oh, let's hope so. So,
Yeah, our world is literally gonna,
yeah, it's
I
hanging
mean,
in the
there's a,
balance. Yeah.
yeah, a lot of people are gonna fall apart.
Yeah, it's very
Which
true.
I didn't even know there were that many people that could fall apart, you know?
Yeah.
Really.
I think there's a lot more of the population than you might think of.
Yeah. But it all trickles
No, yeah.
too. It'll
Yeah.
affect just about everything.
Yeah.
So,
Sandy, that's a good point about the trickling, because that income from Social Security and all these other things, that gets spent every month. All of it does. And now none of it's going to get spent. So it is going to trickle down. There's going to be a lot of other factors. It takes time, kind of like when COVID hit, there was all these different sectors that we would talk about. And some of them weren't affected right at first, but after about 6 months, they get caught up, and then it can be really, really difficult for other types of work. So yeah, it's a good point.
Yep.
and it takes a while to recover, as we saw in COVID
Mm-hmm.
too. So, but hopefully they come to a decision here soon.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
The
I
good.
think it'll get pretty loud pretty quick once we
Yeah.
get past the first. When
Mhm.
those checks don't hit, there's going to be a lot of noise.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I do know the military's still getting paid though, because I have kids in it. So
I also
I haven't
saw,
heard
Sandy,
anything.
I also saw that USAA is they're giving interest-free loans to our active duty
Yes.
until they can get back paid. Now, they're basically signing that, hey, when I do get paid, that money's going back to USAA immediately. But in the interim,
Right.
these guys are making, $1,500 a month to live off of. And so they're getting these loans from USAA, which we love them. And then when they do get caught up on their pay, that money will pay back those loans. So they're not impacted, and they're still getting paid. They got paid on the 15th, which is great. But should anything stop, that financial institution is stepping in big time for our military. So big shout out to
Navy
USAA.
Federal's doing the same thing.
Are they? Good to hear that.
Yeah. But not all of them make 1,500 a month.
No,
My
some of them make more
daughter
than
makes
that.
like
Yeah.
80, almost 90,000 a year
Mhm.
in the military, which you don't think. It all changed.
Hey,
I
I
don't think we
question
ever
for you,
made that,
Ryan.
but
Mm-mm.
I had a question I thought you might be able to help with, Ryan. I'm working on some land that's got some tricky issues. It's a inherited property that was 2 tracks that was surveyed into 2 different tracks with now a new easement on it. The name of the property is in some trust, and we don't even know really the address of the new properties. So I'm having title run a prelim title work on it. I just wasn't sure if you wanted to, we don't talk about land and stuff a ton and issues that come up with that. What's kind of like a checklist that we could do on land? Like say land that doesn't have a specific address, or like, cause I know there's like my hunting land, I don't think has an address on it.
Sure. If there's nothing on it, I mean, there's definitely a legal coordinate, to the
Right.
actual property. And you're going to have that, and there's got to be a survey that's recorded somewhere within the county that they know exactly, because it's getting taxed. And so you're definitely going to want to have the title work done on that and see what they're finding as far as that goes. But as far as like an actual address, a physical address, I know, when we're looking at purchasing dirt, we don't get a number until you designate with the county where you're going to put the driveway, and then they can issue a number of what the house number would be on the property. So until then, you're going to be track 12 or whatever, and then that would be designated within the legal description, which would then give the boundaries of the property as well. So I wouldn't get too caught up in not having a house number yet. That's not the end of the world, but just knowing that there's a legal description of the land, and then having the recorded survey somewhere with that. Do you have all that? Have you been able to track all that down?
Yeah, I've got that.
Okay.
But it was just as I was fumbling through it,
Mhm.
I was like, okay, yeah, this one doesn't have a typical address. So then I had to do the legal and get the survey, and just want to make sure I wasn't missing anything else. 'Cause we just
You
don't do-
said something, pardon me. You said something that was interesting. You said there was a new easement on the property.
Well, because they had the new, it's not a new easement, but it's one driveway that went through
Mm-hmm.
2 tracks, and then they transferred one track from here to here. And so now the track 2 has an easement into it because the other one used to have like a split driveway.
Okay.
And now track 2 has to use track 1's driveway.
Got
So
it.
I'm
And
sure there's anything specific with that I need to do.
I just know the county was not popular on issuing easements moving forward. Jackson County, Cass County.
Cass.
Cass, yeah, they had indicated to us that they did not want to offer easements moving forward. Now, some cases there's always one-offs that's going to happen where you're just going to need one, but in general, they're not interested in allowing people that don't own property to drive across somebody else's property. It just creates issues, and so they don't do that. So, but if you have that ability and you've got that easement that's there, that's great. That you have that access, because you had mentioned that property the other day, and there's not a lot of frontage on it. Access to getting on to this property is very difficult if it's the same property we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. What about anybody else? Does anybody else have any land issues that come up that we want to talk about? I feel like we talk about the same 5 things on residential all the time, but land is kind of a unique thing we don't really educate a ton on, I don't think.
Darren's dealing with one right now that, I don't know if Darren's on the call, but it's the title work came back on the parcel, and let's just say it's 40 acres. I don't know what it is, but it's just land. And in that are some recorded easements that are, really, really old. And this is not uncommon to see, like a gas company's easement back in the 1930s, a railroad company easement from 100 years ago, 60 years ago, whatever. So they may be irrelevant to most people, but when they show up, they can cause a little bit of concern. So it's a good idea to review that title work immediately. If you're going to list something like that, run preliminary title work looking for those things so you know how to address them. The deal Darren's involved in, this all showed up on title work, and I'm not sure the buyer really is concerned about it, but they're making a play that they weren't aware of these easements. It wasn't disclosed, therefore they would like a reduction in price. So I doubt if they'll get it, and I expect the deal will continue forward. But that's the kind of thing that can come up with land that can be a really odd curveball. Because good luck trying to figure out how to get something released that was an easement from a gas company in the 1930s, right? It's virtually impossible.
Lonnie, I think we had land together on a contract that had a gas easement or something for drilling. Somebody was allowed to be able to drill on it. It was like 1930s.
Right.
But my buyer wouldn't go forward without it being removed. So if I remember correctly, it was the title company that got that off of there.
Yeah, I can't remember if they got it
how.
off of there. They just said they would insure over it. There was an A or a B there. That was a while ago, but bigger picture, just be aware that these things can pop up on land, and we need to explore them, not just put it in the file and look the other way. So we've learned our lesson over the years when these things pop up. They typically aren't a big deal if you have plenty of time to research them and figure out what the solution is. But if it's all trying to happen at the last hour, it can be kind of a mess.
I agree with those gas mains or gas easements. They're buried utilities. Good luck. You drive through Creekmore. There's a gas main that goes through Creekmore, and there's lots that are open that are right on the golf course. They're not building on those. There's no way you're going to get around that. You're not going to be able to build on top of it. So when you're selling those properties, yeah, you definitely do that title work and find out about any easements. We've had issues with railroad easements as well. The railroad wasn't even there, but they had rights to be able to utilize that area. Good luck. They are relentless, and they're not going to give those away. And so that's something that stopped us from purchasing some dirt prior as well. I mean, it's just like, we're not going to take on that risk. And then if they want to ever use that area, now you've got train tracks coming through a neighborhood. That's not going to work. So that's always a concern. So definitely double, triple check. Go slow at first. Don't get in a huge rush on land. You're just going to have to make sure it's what it appears to be. On Darren's deal, I do think that's going to go through also, Lonnie. I think they're just making a play for a little bit better a favorable price on it. That obviously they still want it, but they just want a little cheddar off the top.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Never hurts to ask.
so when you guys say do that first, what does that look like exactly? Like you work with Caulfield to run like a title search? It's all a little new for me, but
Preliminary title work.
so if
Yes.
somebody is looking to sell or buy,
Yeah. I do that I learned that on my very first deal 10 years ago. And they had issues on the title, and I didn't know the first thing about it. I remember talking to Ryan because he was my productivity coach, and I was like, what? And so after that, I run preliminary title work on everything I'm gonna list. Any listing before I even have documentation, I will send an email to my title guy. And that's why it's so good to have such great relationships with title. And I just have to say, hey, I need preliminary title work, and I get that in advance. Same thing, like if they owe taxes or they have liens or anything like that, then you know it all up front. You can get it taken care of, put it to rest, put it to bed before you're sitting at the closing table for sure.
is there a charge for that typically?
There isn't from my title guy.
Okay.
There is not.
No,
I was gonna
no.
say typically not, yeah.
When do you guys suggest to do preliminary? I usually do it like in divorces and things like that. Or
I
like,
do it on everything. Anything I list, because you just don't know if there's tax issues or anything. I mean, I've found all kinds of things that have come up over the years. I'm like, if you're going to sell your house, that's fine, but understand, the IRS is going to get theirs first before you get your proceeds. So I think it's just really important to have those conversations up front.
Asking those questions. I know we talked a lot about that during COVID. Some people deferred their mortgage, and we talked about this in team meetings like over and over again. Hey, did you take advantage of deferring your payment? Okay, that's going to have to get caught up when you sell. And everybody was like, dumbfounded. I'm like, holy crap, that's another 12 grand I've got to pay at closing. Well, they want their money. They don't just let you out of that. So
Yeah,
those
and
were
a
a
lot
lot
of
of those questions you have to ask inside that listing appointment will help you on whether or not you need to run the prelim. But it's always a good idea to do that, especially divorces, deaths, anything like that. You always want to get that done.
Yeah, and especially during COVID, I remember we found that we'd ask the question, do you have a second mortgage? And people didn't even know that that was considered a second mortgage when they deferred their payments and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we asked them if they took advantage of that program instead of, hey, did you struggle with your finances and have to have some help with your mortgage? Yeah, no one wants to answer that question, right? But if you took advantage of this program, that's fantastic, but they got to pay that back. So we worked on that sales language, which helps tremendously to get the listing as well. But yeah, so just ask a bunch of questions.
It just shows you know what you're talking about. So
I was gonna see expireds. Does anybody call expireds? And does anybody have any success or a script that they use that is successful on expireds? Hey, your house just didn't sell with Jenny. It'll sell with me. We'll do the exact same thing she did. It's a great value proposition. I know you don't want to lower your price, but I'll sell it for you at that price that it didn't sell at.
I've got a ton of scripts from when I first started for expireds and FSBOs. That's all we did back in the day.
Yep.
Oh,
All right, I think Chris wants to teach a class on that.
No,
We'll get you on the calendar, Chris. Thanks.
not really, but are there definitely, I still have them in my closet, scripts for those. There's no doubt.
I do too.
No.
I started my
How do those
business on
conversations go?
expireds.
I've never called an expired before. I mean, I've called a couple for sale by owners, but I haven't really done that.
Well, you can be the expert on the homes that didn't sell the first time around.
Yeah.
You can
I
become that.
specialize in creating a marketing plan for properties that didn't sell the first time around. Many really nice properties don't sell the first time around. Little things like that you learn to kind of embed in your conversation. Typically the seller who has an expired listing, first thing I would do is look at the history of the listing, because most likely it didn't just expire. it probably was withdrawn 2 months ago or 3 months ago or 4 months ago. And today happens to be the day it expired because that's when the listing was dated. So technically it hasn't been marketed for months. So be knowledgeable when you pick up that phone. Otherwise you look like a moron. And I've done that many times. But
Hey,
I suggest you approach it a little differently than trying to take the listing, is just trying to explore what went wrong and then see if you're a solution.
Hey, Jake,
Mhm.
something else I like to do on expireds. I did a lot of expired calls when I first started because no one liked me. I'm not sure they do now either. But when I would call, what I was taught, this is all bold stuff. It's like get to the dream as quick as possible because I noticed, Jake, you were selling your house. Where do you plan on moving to when your house does sell?
Canada.
Yeah, great. Canada's awesome. It's nice and cold up there this time of year. I can't wait to get you there. Absolutely. I'd love to interview for the job of selling your house and just start asking more questions, but ask about their dream because they obviously wanted to go somewhere because they put their house on the market. Maybe they wanted to move to the lake or retire to the lake. That's fine. Whatever it is, it didn't happen. And now they're stuck with the problem of a house that didn't sell. So you have to be the solution to that. But if you can show them, remind them of the path of getting to what they wanted, then they would probably engage you at a higher level for you to help them get what they want.
And then how's the success rate of selling those? If they're like, yeah, we don't want to sell it for less than 500,000, and they've been sitting there, how's your value proposition? Are you going to take the listing that's not going to sell at that, or how do you approach that?
Yeah, so you've got to do your homework. You've got to definitely do your homework to see if they're wanting 500,000 in a $400,000 neighborhood. Well, why do we feel? And so basically, what you do is set up an appointment to go over, and you don't do a listing presentation, you do a problem presentation, and start asking those questions. And they can't answer those. I mean, I've got the biggest lot. Great. We've got an extra 5 square feet in the basement. Super. You just can't get an extra $100,000 for that stuff, right? The reality of it is what the market shows us, what the data shows us, and have that all right there in front of them because they don't know you yet, and show them the numbers. This is what we feel we can get for your home and get you to Canada because that's where you want to be, land of the maple leaf and the Blue Jays, apparently.
Usually whenever they're real high, I'll always say, no, I didn't see any comps that supported that data. What comps are you using? Could you send it to me so I can add it to my data here? And they never can find it.
They can't. And if you can, Jake, get in front of them as quick as possible. That's going to be important if you're going to want to take down an expired listing. Get the phone call in first. Yeah, absolutely. Call them that day. It expires. Hey, I noticed your house showed up as expired. Are you still interested in selling your home? Yep. Fantastic.
One of the main things,
What's the number one
one of the
objection?
main things they're going to ask is, why didn't you bring a buyer while I had it listed?
That's a good question, Sandy. I couldn't see your listing.
What's
It
the
was
number one
way out
objection to
of
relisting with
overpriced
you?
or whatever.
Like if you call an expired and they say, if they're defeated about it, or like what's the normal objection to letting someone else list it? Just being done with the whole process, or
some people are done. The holidays are coming. Their cousin is selling the house, or their aunt or somebody, selling the house is fantastic.
Sometimes they had a crappy realtor, if you want to know the truth. Because I remember I used to
do
call
they know
FSBO.
that though? Do they recognize that that's what happened? I guess
I will tell you, when I started in this business calling FSBOs, and every time I called a FSBO, it was somebody else had listed it for them. They weren't expired, but they'd called other people and then they never called them back. And they would tell you, they would say, I've dealt with realtors. There's 100 of you out there. And because when I started, everybody was calling FSBOs and expireds. That's exactly how Bold taught you to start. And, they would they'd say the realtor didn't do anything, didn't say they were going to do what they're going to do. And you don't want to talk bad about a realtor, but you want to reassure them that you're going to do what you're going to do. But the thing is, you have to do it. You have to do it. And especially when you start this business, you have to do what you say you're going to do. You've got to do it. So
they do like to ask what you're going to do different than the last realtor.
Yeah.
Sell your house.
So you have to know what you're
That's a great response, right?
Are you familiar with how I sell houses? Great. I'll meet you at 4:00 today, and I'll be happy to show you that.
I'll never forget the first FSBO I got was because there was a script and I think it was from Ignite, and there was a script, something about the 4 or the 5 Ps, because a lot
Tim
of,
knows it.
yeah, and there was,
Come on, Tim.
yeah. And I used that. I had that rebuttal because I had looked and studied and everything, and I used that rebuttal, and that got me that first listing. This is actually my second listing. It was the second listing I ever got was from a FISBO out in Peculiar.
Well,
That's
one of the
right.
main
Chris is right
things-
on. The
Mm.
most agents just do the 3 Ps, right? They
Yes.
put it in the multiple listing service. They place a sign in the yard and they pray that it sells.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Exactly. Yep.
That's awesome.
But
Yeah.
we all prospect for buyers.
That's exactly
We
right.
prospect for
Proactively.
buyers
Uh-huh.
daily between 9 and 11, so I won't be available by phone for you because I am looking for buyers and sellers for that market.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times it's just, it wasn't so much about how you said it, it was that you knew what to say. You know what I mean?
I saw
It's a-
Brandy's chat in the comments. This is a great time to make those phone calls again.
Yep.
I mean, it's funny being in Bold this past session, which by the way was our Amber Rutherford was phenomenal. She might
Yes.
Scott Toombs has always been my favorite Bold coach, and nobody can even hold a candle to Scott for me. Amber's right there. I mean, she gives Scott a run for his money. She was a fantastic coach. I loved her. But being in Bold, I mean, it's crazy that in this mastermind call, we're pulling out Bold scripts from 8 years ago. They're relevant again. I mean, it's crazy. The expired listing, Lonnie said it or Ryan said it, like, I mean, since I'm an agent who specializes in expired listings, I thought I would check in and see if our office had a buyer for your house, would you still be interested in selling it? Yeah, I sure would. Great. When it sells, where were you planning on heading to? Like, you're right. It's from whenever I very first started when Finn and Ward and I were in the training room doing scripts and role play. Like, it's that conversation all over again, and it's relevant again. It's nuts. I love it.
All fundamental. Back to
It
the
is.
fundamentals. Yep.
Back to
Question.
skills based, which is exciting.
We may already have this, but is there, like on our Southland links, could we have a thing where it says scripts? You click on it, for sale by owner, click, and it pulls up the script, you can print it? Or click on it on the link, scripts, expireds, and it gives you all the expired scripts.
I have a whole bunch of them.
I do too. My stuff all honestly came from Ignite.
Well, you guys all have it in a binder, which is
Yeah.
great.
I do.
How do I
I do
access
too.
it today if I wanted to practice my expired listings or a new agent that hasn't taken
Come to
it?
class, Jake. Come to class.
Well, we
Right,
are
but we
going
don't
to
always
start
have those
Ignite
scripts and stuff
again.
like that. Is there a way we could get those to where I could just print it out anytime I needed it?
I think we need
We are going
Ignite.
to start Ignite again, aren't we?
Ignite will start in January.
And that does have a lot, but I do have a little binder. You can.
I have like 3 binders full because I took Ignite. I
Well-
can't tell you how many times. Yeah, with the scripts in it.
Mine are just little cards. They're like 3 by 5 cards, and I have them on a ring. And I got them from Bold when I went to Bold one time, but they're pretty useful. I mean, they're easy to flip through, just easy.
Lonnie
Well, I
says
think-
they're
I
in
think
Agent Kickstart, and then Steve said they're all on Connect.
And I think that once you
Yes.
understand what you're looking to say, I mean, like, I don't forget that from 10 years ago. I don't forget that. You know what I mean? So if I ever got presented with that question again, it's not like, once you know it, Jake, is my point. Once you know what that rebuttal would be, you're never going to forget that.
Right. I was just kind of curious if, like, if I was going to look at that, I wouldn't even know where to get the. I'd probably go into Ryan and say, hey, can I have one of your 9 binders?
Yep.
Nope. Nope. Now I can help you out if you need them. I would,
Or whatever.
Jake, go on here and print these out. Go get you a binder today. Get you a big binder and start building out
Yeah.
your scripts catalog. I mean, you can go on to Connect and Agent Kickstart, and that's great to be able to see them on there. But there's nothing better than, for 5 minutes in the morning, flip those things open and just run through them and just re-ingrain that, because it's just the ability to fire those back fairly quick. It's part of the smart assery that I work on every day, to be able to respond to certain questions and to be able to, you had the conversation 10,000 times. They're having it for the first time today. they're not going to outscript you. But if you know them, you'll have the rebuttal every time.
So I use my Chat GPT, the voice thing, to practice scripts with, and I say, hey, how can I improve? What did I do well there? What's a way that how can I phrase my scripts better, or whatever it is? And that's very helpful. I do that in the car all the time. I just talk back and forth to RealtorBot, is what I named him.
Well, I will throw this out there. I've got a couple script books and I've had people come by and they make copies. You can have it. You can make your own copy, make your own binder. I'm happy to share. That's how I got it, if I'm honest. And their scripts are from Ignite, Bold, from everywhere. There's just a compilation. There's not like a one-stop shop. You got to make your own. So I will also say this, for probably legal purposes and cover our tails, we're not calling them scripts. They're conversations. That's what they are. And so we got to master the conversations. And I'm happy to share any of mine because it is very, very, this is part of our 20% that I was talking about, the 80-20 principle, knowing what to say. And in any given situation, this is what we do to be top agents. This is our 20% that moves the ball the fastest, the furthest, part of it.
Yep.
Good time of
I
year
love
to do it in the winter when we're not as busy. Master these scripts, so then in June when we're flying 1,000 miles an hour, we'll already have it memorized versus trying to master it at that point.
Yeah.
Well, one thing we do in Bold, and I know we're about out of time. One thing we do in Bold is you get a script partner and you commit to four days a week. Jump on the phone for 15 minutes. You each run a script through real quick and you hang up. It's easy. It's easy. And then you get to, and it's good to switch your script partners your conversation partners every so often, so you don't get used to the same person and the same objections over and over again. So it's a great idea. If you want to do it, let me know. We'll pair you up with a partner.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Cool. That's 11:01. I appreciate you guys being on the call. Thanks for talking the whole
Thanks,
time.
Jake.
The entire time.
Thanks, Jake.
Great
Good
job,
job.
Jake.
Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you. Slay the day, people.
That's right.